I'd like to call the regular board meeting of the Huron Valley Schools for October 21st, 2024 to order. May I have a roll call, Secretary Pastana?
Ms. Grzymkowski.
Present.
Mr. Dimick.
Here.
Ms. Ryan. Absent. Ms. Stodd.
Here.
I am present. Ms. Cotter.
Here.
And Mr. Wiseman.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. If you are able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Member Dimick, seconded by Member Dodd. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Dimick.
Yes.
Ms. Stodd.
Yes.
I am a yes. Ms. Grzymkowski.
Yes.
Ms. Cotter.
Yes.
And Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next on the agenda, one of the things that I always do on behalf of the Board of Education is to make the following statement. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not considered to be a public community meeting. There is a time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda item, public comment. As a school board, we appreciate the members of our community who share their public comments during the designated times of our meeting agenda. This is an important opportunity for the Board of Education to hear from the community. However, it is not a time for a two-way communication. A regular meeting of the Board of Education is designated for the board to conduct the business of Huron Valley Schools in open session in accordance with the Open Meeting Act. Comments that require follow-up investigation or communication will be handed to our superintendent, Dr. Salah, or a member of his team. There are two segments in the agenda for public comments in sections 3 and 7 respectively. 15 minutes have been allocated to Section 3 for public comments related to action voting items or non-action items if time allows. The Board of Education will allocate more than 15 minutes allocated in Section 3 so that all public comments on action voting items may be heard in Section 3 prior to the Board voting on those items. All comments on non-action items will take place during Section 7 of the agenda if not already heard in Section 3. All speakers wishing to address the board must be present. All individuals will be given an opportunity to speak. Each individual delivering public comments will have 3 minutes to share their communication. Individuals may only speak once and can not share unused time with another person. A timer will be displayed on the screen so individuals can monitor their time. Once 3 minutes have elapsed, the timer will sound indicating that public comment has concluded and the microphone will be turned off in preparation for the next speaker. The individual must be present, as I said before, to share public comments. We ask that you share your name, address, and home school district before sharing your comments. Furthermore, we request that you refrain from name-calling or mentioning the names of specific employees, persons, or students within your public comments. Comments must be related to school business and may not include personal attacks unrelated to school business. If you make such comments, the Board of Education President will, to the extent permitted by the First Amendment, interrupt or end your comment time. If you plan to share public comments, please complete the form in the back of the room or actually in the front of the room and give your form to Ms. Goodell, who has her hand up right now. Thank you for your professionalism and your participation tonight. So, with that, we'll go into communications and report. I have a very short communication, and that's really to thank everyone, our Board of Education and our community, and participating in our public community forum that was held last Monday and Tuesday, October 14th and 15th. It was an opportunity for our community to meet face-to-face, one-on-one, with members of our Huron Valley Board of Education. I find that to be very unique. It's not something that's commonly practiced within Board of Educations, but it's something that we've embraced as a Board of Education in the spirit of transparency and communication. So I congratulate not only our community, but our Board of Education to take the time to sit and listen and to have those conversations. I do know that one of the things that we do is take these comments and review them, and they're passed on to me and Dr. Salah for us to take a look at, review, and if necessary or if required, we'll circle back with you. As I said, I know that it was a very worthwhile event, and the topics were relevant and pertinent and important to our district as we move forward to be the very best school district we possibly can be. Topics included conversations with parents from an elementary school who really praised their excellent staff as it relates to what's going on in the classroom, talked about the various opportunities for our students as it relates to social emotional learning and their opportunities, and also praised the district as it relates to providing junior kindergarten for all elementary schools this year. We had parents expressing concerns of class size in the elementary and middle school, and they provided documents, and I passed those on to Dr. Salah. Discussions also centered on Title IX, what it is and what it's not, the policy that was adopted at the last meeting, and the current state and federal laws around discrimination, not only for our employees but for our students. Parents also attended and to continue the discussion around what has taken place at Spring Mills in the past and what's going on currently at Spring Mills in providing opportunities for our students and staff. There was also discussion around robotics and the opportunities for our students as it relates to robotics, both at the high school and middle school, as it related to the programming and timeline and space requirements and construction timelines as it related to that. We also had a teacher from the International Academy West who wanted to know what the practice and what the procedures were as the Board of Education adopted policies and how they might provide input or participation as it related to that. And I expressed a couple avenues that we have as our subcommittees, and that would be a place not only to have communication, but it's a little bit less formal, where it can be somewhat two-way conversations. And we also talked about safety and security, specifically around, it was interesting because it was something that was presented to Dr. Salah, and he already had the wheels moving as it relates to concerns around side lights. And in fact, that's coming to us as new business tonight. So that was something that was brought up. So my personal reaction to those two nights, and I was able to attend both of them, was that it was very positive. And once again, I want to say thank you to our Board of Education, and I want to really thank our community for partaking in that opportunity. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to recognition. Dr. Salah.
Thank you, and I'll invite Ms. Rothler to the podium.
Good evening. Tonight we want to recognize many students who have earned either a commended status or semifinalist standing in the 2025 National Merit Scholarship Program. Approximately 16,000 semifinalists are recognized across the country, representing less than 1% of the nation's high school graduating seniors. It's incredibly impressive. These academically talented high school seniors have an opportunity to continue to compete for national merit scholarships worth nearly $28 million that will be offered to them next spring. If I can have Board Member Jacob Dimmick, along with International Academy Principal Ryan Parrott, up here to join me to introduce these students and to give them the recognition that they so truly deserve.
Board, thank you for having us here this evening. I'm going to be representing the candidates from both the International Academy and for Lakeland High School. So we are very fortunate on campus to have representatives from both schools here at Lakeland and IA. I want to congratulate first students Colin Dagg. Not all students, as you're aware, all of our students are highly also involved with extracurriculars, athletics, so many of them are not able to arrive tonight, but we are going to announce everyone. Charles DeCoster, John Eichholtz, I think he is here, right? There's John. Congratulations, John. Do you want to? And then, John, if you want to stand right over here. Yep. Alex G., Miles Pilgrim, Christopher Purdy, Peter Wilner, and Aiden Zablocku for earning semifinalist status in the 2025 National Merit Scholarship Program. Additionally, the following International Academy students have earned a letter of commendation. Jeremy Bry, Sasha Gilders, Sanvi Kalia, Ben Lashinsky, Joshua Plizga, and Amelia Vong. On behalf of Lakeland Principal Libby Held, congratulations to Rana Peterson for her achievement of commendation for national merit from Lakeland. Raina? Okay, Raina. Sorry. That's Raina. I apologize for that.
We would like to take a picture of all of you with the board, but first, if anybody from the board has any comments or questions for our students.
Any comments, questions? Congratulations. Outstanding accomplishment.
I'm gonna, again, 1% right here. So please give them another round of applause and we'll take a picture with the board. Yeah, if you guys want to go ahead and bring. Might be easier to go that way. Yep, front of the board this way, a little more space. That's a parents. You can come on up. Get a little closer. Again, congratulations to all of these outstanding students and their hard work.
All right, next we have school presentations, White Lake Middle School Web Leadership Program. Dr. Salah.
Thank you, President Wiseman. Good evening to everyone who's here with us, and would like to welcome White Lake Middle School to the podium, and now we'll kick it off with the proud principal of White Lake Middle School, Ms. Chetkowski.
We really do need a stool here. I'm on my tiptoes. Okay. Good evening, board members, central office team, and community members. As Dr. Salah mentioned, I am Michelle Chutkowski, proud principal of White Lake Middle School. I'd also like to introduce our assistant principal, Dr. Nick Pruski. Thank you for having us here tonight to highlight our 8th grade leadership program known as WEB, which stands for Where Everyone Belongs. WEB is a middle school orientation and transition program that welcomes 6th graders and makes them feel comfortable throughout the first year of their middle school experience. Built on the belief that students can help students succeed, White Lake Middle School trains 8th graders nominated to be WEB leaders. As positive role models, WEB leaders are mentors and student leaders who guide the 6th graders to discover what it takes to be successful during the transition to middle school and help facilitate 6th grade success. More and more, studies show that if students have a positive experience their first year in middle school, their chances for success increase dramatically. Web provides the structure for sixth graders to receive support and guidance from our eighth graders who have been through the challenges that middle school poses and understand that the transition to a larger school can sometimes be overwhelming. We are so fortunate to have Mrs. Darcy LaRue as our web coordinator and teacher. To say she does a fabulous job is truly a wild understatement. So please join me in welcoming Mrs. LaRue.
I'm a little taller here. I'm going to put this up. Good evening, everybody. I'm Darcy LaRue, and I am the proud 8th grade web leadership teacher at White Lake Middle School. Without further ado, I'm going to announce who we have with us this evening, and then they're going to take it from here. So we've brought Cody. We have Annie, Capri, Annika, and then we've got Haley, Sloan, Autumn, and Ella. I'd like to welcome Autumn to the podium.
What is Web? Web is where everybody belongs. Web Kids help 6th graders transition into middle school by mentoring, and we try our hardest to make this the best year for the 6th graders.
For 6th grade orientation, 8th graders took 2 days out of their summer to help these 6th graders be welcome to White Lake Middle School. The first day we went over practice. We went over what we were going to do in the group assembly, and then we split up into our web groups and showed what we were going to do, like play games and show them around the school to make them feel welcome. The second day, we put them all into action. There were 6 to 7 students in every web group. The first part was a group assembly where we played games, and we got into our web groups, and then we went into the classrooms, and we played even more games. And then we showed them around the school, and then we showed them around the school, and to make them feel comfortable. Please cue the video.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm a web leader at White Lake Middle School.
We're here today to help the 6th graders on orientation and help them around the school.
It's really just to get the kids comfortable in White Lake and just have them be ready for the new school year.
I'm helping them to get comfortable with the school and giving them advice that will help them when they actually get to school and become a 6th grader.
I'm just getting the kids ready and doing games and getting them comfortable with talking to new kids.
I remember it was very fun and it helped me a lot because I was scared to come to middle school, but when I was in the 6th grade orientation, I felt way better after. All your classes are down this hallway. Your 4 main classes are always down this hallway.
It helped me know where to go to my classes and made it so I don't feel as scared walking through the halls.
This is the 6th grade hallway. This could be this is an ELA class. This would be your ELA class.
The 8th graders were really nice and they were just friendly and they just were easy to become friends with and stuff.
I also brought treats for you guys. I'm just gonna hand them out right here. It feels great because I want to make everybody belong together and make the school a better place. Web group events. For web group events, our web groups meet once or twice a month, and we play fun games with them, like trivia, and we get prizes. Like last week, the top 3 web groups got prizes for winning trivia. And also, at the end of this month, we are going to do trick-or-treating with all the classrooms.
One-on-one mentoring is when a 6th grader is paired with a web leader to meet up to 2 days a week. When meeting with 6th graders, we check grades, organize lockers and binders, help with homework, play games, and help them with getting used to middle school.
All web leaders are assigned a committee to help our school. The people in the flag committee raise the flag each morning and put it down after the school day is over. The people in the beautification committee wash windows and display cases weekly to make the school shine brighter. In the announcements committee, 2 people a day announce sports, lunches, and other additional information at the beginning of the day for students and teachers to know what's coming up. The people in the recycling committee collect recycling from each classroom and throw it out for them. The people in the birthday committee decorate 6th graders' lockers with a piece of candy to celebrate their special day. In the library committee, they create passes, staple things to walls, and put away books to help our librarian. The people in the Warrior Den sell school spirit and other school essentials like pencils and erasers. The people in the cafeteria make connections with kids, help with cleanup, and assist Dr. Pruski. Lastly, the people in the office run errands, decorate, put away boxes, and put up flyers.
We also do a lot of additional stuff. This includes pep assemblies to help motivate the students. Just last month, we had the Lakeland Homecoming Pep Assembly, where we introduced many different parts of the school and played games with all the grades. We had held a fashion show to give ideas for Spirit Week. Some of the favorites were Rhyme Twin Tuesday, USA Day, and Student Teacher Swap Day. We also love helping the staff by running errands for them. Our goal isn't only to help the people that attend our school, but to help the community. We do this by helping 5th graders be more comfortable by having them tour the school. We also want to make sure we are setting the tone for the school and being role models for not only 6th graders, but also 7th and 8th grade. We love to do fun stuff around the holidays like candygrams, and let's not forget holiday shopping for family and friends in need. Thank you for having us, and remember, work hard and be nice to people. Have a great day.
We'd like to thank you for the opportunity to highlight these incredible students and our outstanding educator. And at this time, if you have any questions, we'd love for you to pose them to our students.
Questions, comments? Lindsay?
Just a question. How do you work out the time schedule with all the different 6th graders in your own schedules? Is it a lunchtime or before school or after school?
Yeah.
You got it?
So we usually do it around seminar time, and 8th and 6th graders have the same seminar time. So.
Well planned.
Yeah.
Other questions? Yes, Laura?
I'm a mom of a future 6th grader, like soon. She's a 5th grader right now. And I can't tell you the calm that this gave me as a mom, knowing that there are going to be great kids like you ready to help her feel excited about coming into middle school. That's so exciting. And your name struck me in the beginning, where everyone belongs, and I feel like that's really important. Anytime someone's going into a new place, they need to find some place to belong. So this is a good lesson that you're learning too, about how to welcome new people wherever they are and treat our inspiring and building futures one student at a time. You're doing it in the middle school at White Lake Middle School, and it means so much. Thank you very much.
Any other comments? Yes, Amy.
I don't have a question. I just wish we had this when I was in 6th grade. This is amazing. Thank you so much for your hard work. I know that it's not just meeting with 6th graders, and I know 6th graders are, boy, they look like little kids coming in. But it's all the other things. It's not. You're serving in so many ways, and it's really outstanding. Well done.
Thank you. Anything else? I jotted down a couple things. I don't know who. I wrote down some of the names. I'm fascinated by our middle school's first names. Cody, Annie, Haley, Sloan, Autumn, Ella. I apologize, I didn't get everybody's name down. You talk too fast. But I do have a couple of things. First of all, how many years has the web group been at White Lake Middle School?
So we've been at middle school.
Come to the
at
microphone,
middle
please.
School. I started it a few years back at our middle school. Ran it for 5 years, and then Lisa Welch took it over for 3 years, and then I took it over the last 2 years again. So 5, 7, like almost 10 years now.
Great.
It's been going on at White Lake Middle School. Yes.
Outstanding.
Mhm.
Terrific. The other one, you were nominated to be part of the web group. Everybody's shaking their head, yes. How did you get nominated? What qualities, who nominated you, and why do you think you were picked?
Well, it was the teachers that nominated us, and they were really looking for like leaders that can help the new 6th graders come in and help them with like their homework and like help them around the school.
What's your definition of a leader?
A leader is someone that can help new people to new things, and yeah.
Anybody else have any other thing, anything else that they would add to that?
We had to have extra good grades or try our hardest in our classes and be a leader, like Cody said.
Okay. Now, somebody I haven't heard from, right? Okay, somebody that hasn't spoken yet, come on up. I'm gonna ask you another question. You're on the spot.
We had to like submit an application at the end of 7th grade year, so teachers could use the summer to look over that and pick the people that they wanted.
And did all of you participate as sixth graders a couple years ago? So you know firsthand how valuable that program was. All right, next, one other question. Sunglasses. I noticed everybody had sunglasses. Help me understand, what's the sunglass bit?
So when we had our tour, we all had props to give to our sixth graders, so none of them would get lost, and we could all like stay as a group together.
So each group had different props, and
Yeah,
what
like
I
some-
saw was sunglasses?
Yeah, I had sunglasses. Some had like party hats and like Honolulu things.
All right. And two more. You said you had 2 days at the beginning, during the summer. Did all of you know that you're gonna do this all year long? Too, that it was not just a beginning of the school year commitment, it was all year, okay. And the other one, you gotta help me with this. What is a saran wrap ball?
I can explain that.
Okay, please
We
do.
did this last time, and actually, my mom, who's here tonight, she introduced me to the saran wrap ball. At holiday time, you get a bunch of saran wrap, and you mix in candy and toys and all sorts of stuff, and then you have like a certain amount of time that they had to unwrap as many as they could, and then we had a bell that went off, and then they had to pass it to the next group. So last year we had 25 groups, and we had 25 different saran balls that we passed around this little group for all the kids. So we did that around the holiday times right before we left for break.
Great.
Yes.
Fun activity, very good. That's it for me. Pictures? Would you like a picture?
I still feel like there's two students I didn't hear
Who didn't you hear from? Who didn't get up to the microphone?
back. You were there.
All right. Okay, you can ask a question, Member Dodd.
So I heard everybody say something at the end all together, but I couldn't figure out what you were saying. Can you tell me what it was?
We said work hard and be nice to people, which is our school motto, which really just represents what we do. We work hard and we're all nice to all the sixth graders.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Okay.
And who
I
else
know
didn't?
you didn't say anything either.
Who else didn't come up?
I can't see in the back. Okay.
All right.
All right. So when you were a sixth grader, what did you need and how did you include that in what you did with the sixth graders that you helped?
I never got the chance to like tour the school on my own before it, so it was nice knowing that I was able to tour the school with my web group, so I knew where all my classes and everything was.
That's really important. I remember my first time in middle school, I couldn't figure out how to do the locker.
Yeah.
It took me a long time. I really could have used a web friend for that. Okay, there's one more student
more
who I
back.
can't see. I only see
Yeah.
legs. Okay, here we go.
Oh, okay. So normally we get two, maybe one or two kids, and we help them open their lockers and such, like it said. And then after our semester is done, the second semester of the other web leaders get a kid and the jobs and stuff. So it's fun.
Terrific.
And it's really cool because the first semester kids get to welcome and do the summer transition, and then our second semester students get to host when our fifth graders come tour the building. So we kind of get both ends of that with the 2 semesters of groups.
Outstanding. Well, speaking on behalf of the rest of the board, we're very, very proud of all of you. You are definitely leaders, and big group, and everybody got to talk. Everybody got to talk. Now you get to get a picture taken. So, all right. All right, next, tough act to follow, superintendent's communications.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I have one item this evening, just wanted to touch on the strategic plan 2.0. As many of you who are watching this know, and certainly our board is aware, spent the last couple of years walking through our strategic plan, as well as the strategic plan 2.0, which deals primarily with innovative programming, as well as plans for redistricting. So we recently had a board study session. So for our board members, you've heard the lion's share of this presentation, but for our community out there, we felt it was important for us to share this information for everybody in the public. So Mr. Tavernier is going to walk us through the sort of history, context, game plan as we move forward, and what we're looking at as we're redrawing boundary lines to create balance across the district in order to execute the strategic plan that was approved by the board last December. Now it's been almost a year. Incredible. So with that, Mr. Tavernier.
All right, thank you, Dr. Salah. It's really hard to follow the kids. When the kids get up and do a presentation, they do such a great job. So I'm going to try to encapsulate the energy and the enthusiasm they had as we talk about this. So again, walking back through a little bit of history, how we got to the point where we are today with the recommendations. So we want to spend a little bit of time just talking about the timeline of strategic planning. So this wasn't something that happened overnight, but there was a lot of discussion, a lot of community involvement and input that brought us to our strategic plan and the recommendations and our vision forward. So back in the 21-22 school year, the board may recall that we were coming out of the pandemic, and we brought together a community task force that was really charged with answering three questions. How do we meet the social emotional needs of our students? Of course, if you think back to 2021, where we were in education and just in the world dealing with a global pandemic, how do we meet the social emotional needs of our students? What program enhancements can we offer to fill any gaps that may exist? And third, how do we better prepare our students for the new economy? So we knew things were changing. I don't know back in 2021 if we knew how much things really were going to be impacted as a result of the pandemic, but we started having those conversations and had community forums and input and had a lot of great discussion and recommendations that became our strategic plan. So in the 22-23 school year, the fall of 2022, we pulled together another community group, some that were involved in the task force and some that were not. Some new members came, and that committee developed our 2023 to 2028 strategic plan, and it has 5 main goal areas: innovative programming, resources and infrastructure, marketing and communications, social emotional supports, and safety and security. So those rose to the top of the list of the priorities for our strategic plan for what the district would focus on over the next 5 years. And as Dr. Salah mentioned, a lot of focus on innovative programming and resources and infrastructure. That very first year, those were the two top goals. And so that was the focus last year, the 23-24 school year. We called it Strategic Plan 2.0, but we really focused on those two goal areas: innovative programs and resources and infrastructure, recognizing that with the right size district and the right size of our resources and the prioritization of our resources, we would be able to afford the innovative programming that we knew our students needed and deserved going forward. So that's just a little bit of timeline, background, and history of where we got the strategic plan recommendations and what that looks like going forward. So with the Strategic Plan 2.0 committee, we engaged with Plant Moran Real Point, a consulting firm that does this work for school districts across not only Southeast Michigan, but across the state, but really came forward and made some recommendations to the Strategic Plan 2.0 committee. So this was as a result of the work that Plant Moran Real Point had done as their part of their assessment of the district, and they made these recommendations. So want to walk through these. These were recommendations that were made to the Strategic Plan Committee. First off, Huron Valley Schools should maintain the current Early Childhood Center and consider a satellite early childhood programming. So we are very proud of our programming at Apollo Center, and there was recognition of that and the benefit that that brings to our students and our community, and the recommendation to consider a satellite program. Second bullet there, current grade configurations do not need alterations as they will not solve the current utilization challenges. So when we talk about grade configurations, we're talking about our elementary schools with the JK through 5th grade, middle schools 6th through 8th grade, and our high schools 9 through 12. So we know other districts have different grade configurations in their buildings. This was not something that Plant Moran Real Point felt were needing alteration. The third bullet, Huron Valley Schools should maintain 8 JK5 elementary buildings, 2 middle schools, and 2 comprehensive high schools with grades 9 through 12. And knowing that the IA West program is housed here at Lakeland High School, so that those recommendations were also brought forward. And the last bullet here, Huron Valley Schools should maintain and review the physical location of the Harbor High School program and our adult education programming in next steps of scenarios. So we know those programs are currently housed at the Brooks Center, former elementary school in White Lake Township. Further recommendations, the Huron Valley Schools should consider scenarios that reduce the number of total buildings and repurpose the 2019 bond and BSSF dollars towards buildings that remain open. So, and we'll get into this, but we know that there are variances or large variances in the utilization of our buildings. And so that was something, it was a recommendation that came forward. Plant Moran Real Point proposes drafting scenarios for the Strategic Plan Committee and review those at its next meeting, which this was just prior to the final recommendations coming to the board, or to the committee for the board. Plant Moran Real Point proposes that HVS assign a range of costs to the innovative programs in order to determine the opportunities that will provide students based upon right-sizing the district's physical plant. So while we were going through these presentations in the Strategic Plan 2.0, at each meeting we had an innovative programming presentation as well as a resources and infrastructure presentation. So looking to assign costs to those innovative programs. Some of the examples included gifted and talented programs, middle school core and elective programs. We talked a lot about career and technical education and program offerings in those areas. And the last bullet here is, in accordance with the strategic plan, Huron Valley Schools should begin evaluating boundary lines in order to better balance enrollment across its 8 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and 2 high schools. So those recommendations from Plant Moran Real Point led to the final recommendations that the Strategic Plan 2.0 Committee made to the board in December of 2023. The first of which was to retain those grade configurations that I talked about previously. So the committee felt that hearing from Plant Moran, hearing the presentations, looking at all the data, they did recommend that we maintain those grade configurations, that we'd become a 2 middle school district, that right now we have 3 middle schools, that we would close one of our middle schools and become an 8-2-2 feeder pattern, where we have 8 elementaries. 4 of those elementaries go to 1 middle school, the other 4 feed to the other middle school, and then both of those middle schools, those students would move on to the 2 comprehensive high schools. The third bullet, increase utilization and lower the operations and maintenance costs by consolidating programs into fewer buildings. So I mentioned the Brooks Center. We also have the administration building that is on the Milford High School campus. And so there were a lot of discussions and conversations as part of those presentations from Plant Moran Real Point to look at consolidating those programs. The fourth bullet, determine a date for a no millage increase ballot proposal. So I'll take you back. This was December of 2023. Fast forward now, we know that that is something this community did. We did take to the community and the community supported back in May. Recommendation to close Oak Valley Middle School and consolidate into the other 2 middle schools. Renovate White Lake Middle School to the district standards. Close Brooks and consolidate the Harbor Adult Transition Program and Community Recreation and Education into Oak Valley. So our Adult Transition Program is currently housed at Milford High School. By moving those programs into Oak Valley, that would create additional space at Milford High School for other programming. Close the administration building and consolidate into that space at Milford High School. And then the last bullet there is build a new middle school on the Milford High School campus. This happened to be scenario C of all the different scenarios that Strategic Planning Committee had reviewed, and those were ultimately brought forward to the Board of Education in late November, early December of 2023, and on December 18th, the board approved those recommendations in moving forward. So that brings us to the conversation about defining school boundaries. That last bullet there, and we know moving school boundaries is not something that we want to do without a lot of thought, a lot of conversation, and a lot of consideration. So a little bit of history here on our current boundaries. The map you see on the right is our current school boundaries. The color blocks are our elementary boundaries. You'll notice in the northwest quadrant, you see a red line kind of outlining Muir Middle School boundary. In the south central and kind of up into the northern area is our Oak Valley boundary. That is in a purple line. It's hard to see on this map, but our White Lake boundary is in green. So you'll see those lines on this drawing. And then sort of right down the center, dividing the east and the west side of the district, there is a black line, and that is our current high school boundary line between Milford and Lakeland High School. So let's focus here on the elementary buildings and boundaries. So these current elementary boundaries were established back in 2017, and that was as a result of the closure of Brooks Elementary that school year. You can see right now Lakewood, when we closed Brooks, Lakewood, Oxbow, and Spring Mills, those boundaries were expanded to absorb the prior Brooks attendance area. We have 3 mobile home communities that, in our existing elementary boundaries, that are discontiguous, meaning that the students in those mobile home communities do not attend the same school as the surrounding neighborhoods of those communities, and that's Highland Greens, Childs Lake Estates, and Stratford Villa. So we note that, and that's just as a matter of capacity of our buildings. Fall enrollment at our buildings, you can see this is as of last fall count, and it ranges from a low of 292 students that are currently attending Highland Elementary to a high of 489, which is our enrollment at Country Oaks Elementary. So you can see there's quite a bit of range there in our enrollment at our buildings. And then we also have variances in utilization of our buildings. So the classroom utilization at Highland Elementary is currently at 62%, and that's factoring in the number of classrooms that currently are in use as classrooms in the building. Up to 106% at Lakewood Elementary, and you might say, well, how can we be at 106%? One of our classrooms, it's actually our technology class, is on the stage at Lakewood Elementary. So we actually don't count that space as a typical classroom, and so that's how we're able to fit all of our programming at Lakewood, but technically we're over capacity with that in consideration. At the middle schools, the middle school boundaries were established back in 2011 when we closed Highland Middle School. And at that time, the middle school boundaries were shifted quite a bit across the district. All of Milford Township was shifted over to Oak Valley at that time. Most of Highland Township, not all, but most of Highland Township moved to Muir from Highland Middle. And then White Lake obviously maintained the attendance boundaries in the northeast side of the district. The enrollment at our middle schools for the fall, our current enrollment is 657 at Muir, 531 at Oak Valley, and 525 at White Lake. Currently, the feeder patterns, so kind of looking at, again, the colors, where the elementary schools feed to the middle schools, you'll notice that some of those boundary lines dissect or go through the middle of some of our current elementary boundaries. So Heritage and Highland all feed to Muir. So all the students that attend Heritage and Highland Elementary do move on to Muir. All of the students at Country Oaks and attend Oak Valley. All of the students at Lakewood and Oxbow feed White Lake Middle School. However, Johnson, Kurtz, and Spring Mills are split. So not all of the students in those 3 buildings attend the same middle school. And so just an example of that, if you look at Kurtz, which is sort of the south center, that orange sort of block in the middle, you can kind of see the red line comes through around the village boundary there. That is really the dividing line between Muir and Oak Valley, and you can see how Kurtz students are split there. The last slide here is, go back to the high school boundaries. Again, the high school boundaries were shifted in 2011 when we closed Highland Middle School. We needed to shift the high school boundary as well. And that really shifted in the northern Highland Township area. Students at that time shifted from Lakeland to Milford. And this was again to make sure that all of the students that were at White Lake were attending Lakeland and not having students going across district amongst our high schools. So you'll notice the high school boundary line as well as the middle school boundary line does go right through the middle of the Spring Mills attendance area, which is in the northern central part of our district. So currently all students from Ewer do feed Milford and all students from White Lake feed Lakeland. However, Oak Valley is currently split kind of right down the middle between Milford and Lakeland. The next thing we wanted to share was non-resident enrollment. I know this is a question that community members often ask, and even our own staff, is what is the impact of schools of choice and open enrollment on enrollment in the district? So let me walk you through a little bit of what you're seeing here on this graph. So when we talk about open enrollment, we're talking about resident students that are choosing to attend a non-neighborhood school. So think of it as like intra-district movement. So an open enrollment student is someone who's attending, they live in Huron Valley, but they're attending a school that's not in their home attendance area. So with that, you'll always see the same number of students open enroll out. It means if you look at Country Oaks, we have 28 students that live in the Country Oaks attendance area that are attending another Huron Valley Elementary School. And we have 44 students that live in Huron Valley that do not live in the Country Oaks attendance area but are attending Country Oaks. So the ins and outs at the bottom, you can see an average of 50. We always have the same number of students that, obviously because it's intra-district, are moving in and out across the district, but you can see the variances there. Out of district schools of choice, those are students that live outside of Huron Valley schools. So non-resident students that are attending a Huron Valley school, you can see the numbers there in that third, or really the fourth column, out of district schools of choice. So those are the number of students, again, that are out of district. Total non-resident, that means total number of students that are not attending the school in their home attendance area. And then the percentage of students in each building that are not attending in their home school. So you can see the variances there across the district, but on average we have about 21% of our students in each of our elementary buildings that are not attending their home school. The next slide here is the same data, just at the middle school level. So here a little bit less, you can see an average of 17% of non-resident students enrolled. But you can see, again, great variances in the number of students that are attending, moving in and out, and the number of students that are attending from out of district in each of our middle schools. And then the last slide here is, again, same data, but for our high schools. So you can see intra-district, the open enrollment in and out is almost even there between the buildings. You'll see a real high number there for out-of-district schools of choice at Lakeland. Part of that story is the IA West. We know any of the students that are not Huron Valley or South Lyon students attending the IA are attending through schools of choice. So about half of those students are attending the IA, the other half attending Lakeland High School. So that's the out of district and non-resident data there that I think is always very helpful. And I should mention all of these data points are from last fall. So we don't have all of this. Count day was just a couple weeks ago. So this is all with last fall's data. So this last slide, and this was, as Dr. Salah mentioned, some of the conversation we had during our work session, but it was really identifying the consideration and really the parameters that we're reviewing as we look forward towards assigning new or establishing new school boundaries. The first is that the capacity of the building. Each of our schools are not all the same size. They have different floor plans, different layout, different capacity, but obviously the capacity of that building driving, our decision on how many students can fit within that building, and our target utilization is 85%. We also want to consider specialized programming in the facilities that are in existence for those programs. So some examples might be our students that are in our severe multiply impaired, where they might be wheelchair bound or non-ambulatory. Having those facilities be able to meet the needs of those students are really important, and we do have some facilities that have those classrooms, those specialized classroom spaces already in place, and other buildings that don't, so that certainly becomes part of the consideration. We always talk about the demographics of our community and wanting to make sure that we have good balance across our district from a socioeconomic standpoint, our number of English language learners that are attending our schools, and the number of non-resident open enrollment or schools of choice, the previous few slides that we just looked at. Really making sure we have a good balance across the district is a consideration. The next bullet there, walkability. I mean, we know people want to attend their neighborhood school. So if a neighborhood is within walking distance of a school, we certainly want to maintain that walkability so students are attending their neighborhood schools. It can be very frustrating if you have to drive past a school to attend another school that you're districted to. So that's something we certainly want to take into consideration. And then with that, transportation efficiency. So what that means is really the length and the number of routes. And this was really a big conversation when we closed the middle school. You know, what is the length of the bus route? How long are students going to be on the bus? How can we ensure that we have some efficiencies so that the next bullet here is doubling or crossing of routes. So when you use a road, for example, as a school boundary, now you're running 2 buses down that road because even numbers are going to one school, odd addresses are going to the other school. So really trying to avoid that so that we're not having inefficiencies within our transportation program. And then, of course, the last bullet here is minimizing impact. So when we talk about redistricting and moving school boundaries, we really want to minimize the impact to students and families as much as possible. But recognizing we do have some, we're going to have to make some changes with the closure of a middle school and really making sure we have those feeder patterns in place. Right now, we just have some boundaries that are splitting up our elementary school buildings, so we're going to have to make some changes to address that. But in as much as we want to do that, we want to minimize the impact on students and families. So that was the presentation. I'll turn it back over to Dr. Slaba. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, John. Great job. Any questions from the board? Any thoughts?
Open it up. I know we spent a great deal of time at our last board study session a few weeks ago going over this. I know that we had an opportunity to ask a number of questions. We'll continue to ask those questions as you work through this. This was something that was established and approved by the board through Strategic Plan 2.0 based on the recommendations of our community groups. And I appreciate this. This is really where the rubber meets the road, for lack of another phrase, but there's a lot of details as it relates to this. I know at our board study session we talked about making sure that as we make these changes, which is part of that plan, that we do our due diligence as it relates to focusing on what's in the best interest of students, making certain, similar to what we did with Brooks, that we do it with the students in mind in doing our due diligence, but at the same time recognizing the urgency, because we want to make certain that we've turned over every stone, but at the same time we want to make certain that our students and our parents know well ahead so that we can, at the building level, and I know there's already been conversations, to make certain that our students are welcome. It's similar to that whole transition that we just went through with the web at White Lake, to make certain that they're welcome. So I know that we've had a lot of questions asked, but this is a time that if there's some other things that need to be brought up, this would be an appropriate time to do that. Yes, I'm going to recognize Laura, and then I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks so much for this, and I think we've talked about this, but I didn't hear it in the presentation tonight, and I think for people watching, they're thinking, how does this impact me? When will I know? What will I see? So just for clarity's sake, what's coming next? What's the next, 2 or 3 steps that we can see as board members, as families, parents, kids? What does that look like? And then, and I'd say then after that, I know that we've talked in the communication committee about making sure that we prepare the every person who works in the district to be equipped to be able to answer questions and point people in the right direction. So I know we're on that path, but just, for these next few months and few steps, what does that look like?
So I'll take that, John. So in terms of what comes next, we started with the last study session. That was the initial introduction, taking the strategic plan recommendations that were adopted by the board. And our goal at this point is that that's almost like the parameters and the policy, if you will. And now it's our job to take that policy or those parameters that the board adopted and put it into a framework and into action. So now it's almost the operational aspect of it. So that slide, John, if you go back to the last slide, that consideration slide is, I think, the key, and what we had the most discussion about as part of our study session is ensuring that we can get as close as we possibly can to hitting each one of those bullet points, because that will be key to ensuring that we have balanced schools that meet the vast diverse needs of the community. So what's happening now is a lot of behind the scenes work. And John's office is really taking the lead on that as we're working through different scenarios, trying to get as close to accomplishing each of these considerations as possible, with the ultimate goal of December, closer to mid-December, having a plan that will be communicated district-wide so that families know, okay, this is the school that my child will be going to next school year. And in that way, they have 8 months to prepare, and we have that 8 months time to prepare transition activities. Our principals are already, brainstorming ideas about open houses and welcoming committees, and we're doing a lot behind the scenes as the district is concerned from a staffing perspective, because we're going to have to staff our buildings differently. So there are a lot of implications and pieces that are already in the works. I guess one last thing I'll mention regarding staffing is related to the early retirement notification incentive. So Ms. Wenger put out a notification to all staff, letting them know that if they can notify us by mid-January, there's an incentive for that early notification, which allows us to be better prepared from a staffing perspective.
Yes, go ahead.
And I think we've talked about this, so parents and families, hang tight. Once everything's announced, we'll crank back up the communications at hvs.org. That's our best place to go for questions. So how does this impact me? What do I do? How do I go to? What about grandfathering? All of that stuff. Once this is announced, communications, with an S, right? At hvs.org is the place to go for that.
Jacob.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, two quick questions. The first was the 3 mobile home communities that have discontiguous boundaries. How did we pull them out specifically versus other communities or subdivisions within that area? And are we planning to keep them in a separate area from closer to where they live, or potentially? Is it specific? I don't remember, and I missed the study session on the 17th. It was actually my birthday, so I skipped it. But yeah, so if you could go with that one. And the second question is going to, I don't want to hit you with too quick, but is our original strategic plan had SEL right at the top, and I noticed this time when you hit the highlights, we're not really addressing that at all. Are we? Is that something that? I'm just surprised it dropped, I guess, so I was trying to see where that was at within our radar, and I know I should know that, but I don't, so.
Why don't I take the second one, John, and you take the first one? So when we immediately came out of the pandemic, there was those 3 questions that we tackled. We had a community group of probably about 50 people. We actually brought in David Hewlings to help us facilitate that. And one of the questions, Jacob, you're absolutely right, was around how do we meet the needs? How do we meet the social emotional needs of our students? We actually have a strategic plan goal that is social emotional well-being of our students. So it is a goal within the strategic plan. What is it, number 4, John? Yeah. So social emotional support was an outgrowth of that community task force. So we did cover that, but for purposes of John's presentation, Strategic Plan 2.0 was focused only on goal 1 and 2. We are working tirelessly to accomplish that goal number 4, social emotional support. And I'd be happy to walk you through, several of those aspects, from PBIS to additional social work support, to our PBIS systems that we've been implementing over the last couple of years, including the behavior interventionist that we recently hired, who's actually going in and providing some coaching for our staff regarding how to work with children who might be struggling with certain behaviors and that sort of thing. But then, in terms of the first question, John, if you want to tackle that.
So I don't know that I have all the history with the mobile home communities and how the boundaries are the way they are right now. But what I can tell you is that oftentimes the density of students within a mobile home community is pretty high. Obviously, there's a lot of residents within those communities, and so the goal here again is, when we look at our considerations, we want to maintain that neighborhood school focus, the walkability in as much as possible, but recognizing, and this was just a conversation we had during our work session, that we do have some of those non-contiguous boundaries, and so there's sort of the crossover. You have a bus that comes into that community and goes to a different school, so we wanted to just highlight that. That's something that we want to consider. Now, whether or not we can completely eliminate that is really unknown at this point, but that's something that's in our considerations as we go forward, is to have those neighborhood schools, the walkability, and really to help not have those communities disconnected from surrounding areas, if that helps answer your question.
Yes, it does. And to that point, I noticed one of the things we looked at was the socioeconomic. So would that have been factored in as well, in terms of why they maybe aren't going to the closer school?
All of those are considerations, are factors that certainly we want to maintain as we're considering these new boundary lines.
Yes, Amy?
So I know anytime we say redistricting, building utilization, it kind of strikes fear in the heart of parents. I remember when Highland Middle School we had all of those conversations. I remember Brooks. Baker too. But my question is, you mentioned that optimal utilization is somewhere around 85%. Can you explain why that is optimal? What does it do for us? What does it give our students when we're at 85% versus, let's say, Highland that's at 62%?
So optimal utilization at 85 does a couple things. One, when you have real low utilization, like you mentioned, Highland at 62%, it's really an underutilization of our facilities, and that increases costs. So talk about maintenance and operations costs. So we're maintaining a building that's being underutilized, and so there's inherent increased costs with that. A building that's overutilized, and I mentioned Lakewood is sort of over capacity right now, it really limits our ability to offer expanded programs. Kids are in spaces that we wouldn't typically want to have as a traditional classroom space. So I mentioned the use of a stage. So that's why the 85% is sort of the sweet spot, because it gives us the ability to be flexible. As new residents move in, or as a community might grow, it gives us some ability to absorb maybe some of that increased enrollment, but it also maximizes our resources so that we're not spending dollars in areas to heat, cool, maintain, clean, all of that aren't being used at an optimum capacity or optimum utilization. Does that help? Thanks.
The other question I have is, how do we, I know that Plant Moran, Real Point, I think that's their name now, Plant Moran, Real Point said they looked at all of our incoming subdivisions. We know that, 0.4 students per household. That's a very low number now. It used to be much higher. People are having less children. So when we are looking at our building utilization, we are taking into consideration what might be based on what we know of subdivision and growth in our communities, or maybe perhaps no growth in those communities, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. The data that Plant Moran Real Point provided the Strategic Plan Committee, and we have access to all of that data, were potential new developments. So we know there's a large development right now being built in South Milford Road near 96, right? So taking that into consideration is certainly part of the calculus when establishing new boundaries. Yep.
Any other questions, comments? I know this is a work in progress. We have a variety of subcommittees that there's going to be a lot of conversations as it relates to this as you put what the board has already approved into practice. So we'll continue having that dialogue. The other, and I think this is kind of a follow-up with Amy's question as relates to utilization. I think the other piece too, and that's just my personal viewpoint, is that it really optimizes our ability to attract and retain staff too. When we underutilize a facility, or it causes some disopportunities, if there's such a word, as it relates to attracting staff, because you might not have a full FTE, or we have to spend money transporting that staff member to another building. I think that's also part of that strategic plan 2.0 as it relates to creating 2 campuses where we can fully utilize our staff between our high schools and middle schools. And I think that's an extraordinarily important part, because I see that when we see postings, that it's very hard to attract, for example, a 0.4 Spanish teacher. So what we need to do is maybe it's a 0.4 at one school, but right across the street on that campus is maybe a 0.6, so that we can pair those two up and create that 1.0, which then becomes very attractive. So I think it's very important to keep that in mind as we move forward. So, all right. Seeing no other questions at this point in time, please, board members, continue asking these very pertinent questions of our team as we move forward, and recognizing the hard work that Dr. Slah and his team are going to have to roll up their sleeves and get done, so that we can do it in such a fashion that we not only get the work done, but we recognize the social emotional piece of it as it relates to our parents and students. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for the presentation. Next is student leadership. I'm going to turn it over to Denise Pastana, our chairperson for teaching, learning, and technology.
Tonight we have Jake Verbick from Lakeland High School. He's part of our TLT committee student leadership, so he's going to tell you what's happening at Lakeland. Thanks for coming, Jake.
Hello, my name is Jake Verbick, and I am the senior class president here at Lakeland. I'm here to briefly cover the activity at Lakeland this school year so far. I'd like to begin by highlighting some extracurricular accomplishments this fall season. First off, the boys and girls cross-country teams went undefeated in their seasons, and as well, each earned their respective LVC League championship. And the HVS Marching Band recently placed 4th in the Grand Blanc International Tournament. As for clubs, the National Technological Honor Society this past week just toured the University of Michigan's Ross School of Business and the School of Engineering. And then this week, the National Honor Society is holding its induction ceremony during the school day on Wednesday. Other than this, the activity within the school has been pretty typical. A few weeks ago, we had our homecoming, and even though the football team got kind of pummeled, it was a fun week, and a lot of students showed some good spirit, which was nice to see. If you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them, of course.
Any questions? Any comments? I'm going to point out that we have a board member here that her daughter, is on that undefeated girls cross-country team, so congratulations. Huh? Oh, and Jeffrey too, yes. Yeah, but Jeffrey's not on the school board, so I wanted to make sure I pointed out our school board member. All right, but I'm glad that Amy pointed out that your daughter, you don't look like a cross-country runner. But
well, she said my daughter, right? So let's clarify that. So, yeah, my wife and I, we're not cross-country runners.
But that's very impressive, because I did happen to see our athletic director's comments as it relates to both of our cross-country teams and how well they did at Hess Hathaway. It was an amazing accomplishment on both of their parts, so congratulations. Jake, thank you for being part of our teaching, learning, technology. You're one of a number of representatives, so we really appreciate your work and your leadership and your comments so that we can be the very best we possibly can be. And even though you're from Lakeland, you're excused because I know school starts early. All right?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else for Jake before we let him leave?
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Yep. Association communication. Ms. Hollander.
Good evening. 15 short months ago, the HVEA approved our contract, which goes through July of 2025. Even though this contract will not expire for 9 more months, there's a lot of preparation that goes into the bargaining process before we even negotiate. It is very important that all of our HVEA members have a voice in the bargaining process. We, of course, can't have everybody sitting across the table at the bargaining table. So we put specific things in place so that all of our educators will have the opportunity to share their individual concerns and wants and needs. Within the next few weeks, we'll put our first piece in place when we send out our open-ended survey. This survey will go out to all of our members. It's a survey with open-ended questions that ask them to share their priority concerns, their wants, and their needs. It's really important to us that the bargaining team does not just assume the concerns and wants and needs of our membership, and instead we make an intentional choice to hear directly from them. We know, and it's not going to surprise you, that increasing our salary schedule is always the huge priority that comes. But we also want to hear the other pieces that are important to them. Previously, things like class size, decreasing the number of steps on our salary schedule, and sick days versus personal days are common areas of concerns that were expressed. Once those survey results are compiled, that information is brought to our Professional Negotiations Advisory Committee. It sounds very official. This committee is composed of at least one educator from each of our schools, as well as the members of the HVEA Executive Board and our bargaining team. These 25 educators come together multiple times to review all the survey information and to share the concerns that they bring from their schools. Next, that information is collected from the surveys and the discussions, and that committee will develop a second survey with very specific questions. This survey dives deeper into those areas of concerns and helps us develop the issues and parameters that we bring to the bargaining table. By doing multiple surveys in our meeting as a pre-negotiation committee, we bring all of the voices of the HVEA to the bargaining table. Our actional bargaining team only consists of 8 of us. We represent elementary, middle school, and high school, as well as special education, elementary specials, and secondary electives. The diversity of our team is very important to continue that we represent all of the varied needs across the district. Our bargaining team will meet countless hours, right? Countless, Heidi's on my bargaining team, countless hours between November and when the contract is ratified to make sure we are representing the needs of our members and are prepared for each bargaining session. Hopefully these sessions will begin in January so we can begin the daunting process of negotiations. I am grateful that we worked through the interest-based bargaining process. This process allows us to work together with the district to determine our shared interests and examine each of these issues through the shared interests in mind. Negotiations are exhausting and stressful and frustrating at times, but I know we are working together with that end in mind of supporting all of our educators, retaining all of our educators, attracting future educators, and creating a safe and positive working condition so our educators come to school each day ready to support our students. I hope this information gives you some perspective for what we're going to be doing behind the scenes for the next few months while we prepare for negotiations. It's an important time for the HVEA, and knowing we have the support of our Board of Education is always so reassuring to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Board correspondence, Secretary Pastana.
No correspondence this evening.
Treasurer's report, Treasurer Grzymkowski.
Yes, I would like to share with my fellow board members and the public. Huron Valley Schools recently had our external audit, and our finance office is pretty amazing. If you've never gone through a government single audit, it is daunting. It is a great deal of work on top of your everyday work. And so I just want to highlight some things that we've learned. We will have a complete presentation on December 2nd, but I also just want to give kudos to our finance office for their hard work. It really is, it's a daunting task. We had a much better than budgeted results in our general fund for the year, ending 6/30/24. We estimate 4 to 5%, which includes about a 2% total increase in revenue and about a 2% decrease in total expenditures. That is very good news for us. We did expect a small loss, and now we have a gain, and that's fantastic. That's due to people being very cautious with expenses, and I greatly appreciate that. We should end the year with approximately 1.9 in total fund balance in food service, which is approximately $360,000 in excess, and we are required to spend those dollars down for only food service. So it's really important. That cannot go into our general fund or bond funds or any other fund. We will have positive results for our Series 1 of the 2019 bond program that the community supported. This is also an excellent result for us. Other special revenue funds are in compliance with our standards, and we will be considered again a low-risk auditee, which really makes the life of the finance office significantly better. And it just goes to show that the policies and the procedures that we've put in place are being adhered to, and the money is being spent appropriately. So I just wanted to update you with that. And like I said, we will be having a presentation on December 2nd.
Thank you, Amy. And I, too, on behalf of the rest of the board, Jeffrey, certainly appreciate your hard work, your due diligence, and please pass on our respect to the rest of your team. Outstanding work, and we look forward to the report in November. We always kind of kid about that a little bit, but at the same time, it's an extraordinarily important work, and I appreciate your work as treasurer, Amy, on this. Next, we have reports of board committee. I do not have a executive committee report since the last Board of Education meeting. Our next meeting will be on November 12th. TLT, Teaching Learning Technology, Chairperson Pastana.
Yeah, TLT will meet again tomorrow at 4. I think it's 4:30. Yeah, 4:30. 4 o'clock. Never mind, 4 o'clock.
And that's going to be at the administrative offices?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Finance and operations, Amy?
Yeah, finance and operations, we met Wednesday, October 16th we opened our meeting at 8:02 at the admin building. Present were Mr. Wiseman, myself, Ms. Ryan, Dr. Salah, Mr. Van Gotham, Mr. Reeby, Ms. Kerrigan, and Ms. Maruskin. There was no public comment. We had no consent agendas items this evening. We do have some unfinished business. We have the food and nutrition service equipment replacement purchase, and the committee didn't have any additional questions. Administration is asking for the board to approve the proposal from Stafford Smith dated April 23rd, 2024 for double stacked ovens at Milford High School, Lakeland High School, and a 6-burner range at White Lake Middle School in the amount of $34,755, plus the 12% contingency of $4,000 and some change for a total of $38,925.60. This project will be funded from the food service excess fund balance. We also are looking at the food and nutrition digital menu display purchase. The committee did not have any additional questions. The administration is asking the board to approve the proposal for the Toshiba digital signage solutions. We received that on July 3rd for the digital food menus at Milford High School and Lakewood High School in the total amount of $34,023. This project is also funded from that food service excess fund balance. Muir Middle School temperature controls purchase. The committee had no further questions. Administration is asking the board to approve the quote from Train in the amount of $45,715.47. This project is funded from the 2019 Bond Site Sinking Fund. Technology Consultant and Designer Series for the 2024 Bond Program. The committee discussed the 3 technology firms that submitted proposals along with the evaluation performed on each. It was determined that Barton Mallow was the clear choice based on evaluation criteria as well as past history and performance with the district. Administration is asking the board to approve this recommendation of Barton Mallow as our technology consultant designer for the 2024 bond program this evening. New business. We looked at additional school safety recommendation purchase. The committee discussed the proposal from Sinorama in the amount of total amount of $160,152.95. This project will be funded from Safety and Security, the categorical funding. The administration will seek approval at our next board meeting, November 18th. Safety and security updates. The committee discussed the need brought to the district's attention for additional enforcement of school safety after the recent Georgia school shooting. This will be brought to the board under new business at this evening's meeting. We also reviewed the administrative guidelines for finance and operations. The committee reviewed the 7,000 series and had no concerns. The business office will be reviewing the 6,000 series, and those will be brought to our next finance and operations committee meeting for the board's review. Bond service providers RFP. The bond service providers bid openings took place on Wednesday, October 9th. We received 2 bids for construction management services, 9 bids for architectural and engineering services, and 3 bids for technology consultant design service. Interviews will take place Monday, October 21st and Tuesday, October 22nd. 8/31/24, the general fund budget to actual. The committee received the general fund budget to actual as of August 31st. White Lake Middle School Spanish .4 position. Dr. Salah gave approval for a full 1 FTE to fill the middle school opening that had not been able to be filled as a result of the fact that it was a .4 FTE. Future discussion items. Several board policies will be coming to our next finance and operations meetings. Mr. Wiseman asked that the board overview be shared regarding the initial audit findings at the upcoming board meeting. Our board meeting was adjourned at 9:02, 1 hour. And I know. And our next meeting is November 13th at 8 a.m. I hope you can join us.
A lot to be accomplished in 1 hour. Nice job. Communications, marketing, and legislative.
Yes, our last meeting was held on October 8th at the administration building, called to order at 2:37 p.m. Present were myself, Ms. Grisomkowski, Ms. Cotter, Ms. Rothler, Dr. Salah, and Ms. Willis. There was no public comment. Regular agenda. We talked about our upcoming veterans recognition that we do at the board meetings, and talked about adding some new elements to make sure that we really do a nice job of pronouncing names properly and giving some recognition to some of the other events that are happening in the community at the same time. Next, we discussed emergency communication. Committee discussed any preventative measures that could be taken to lessen rumors often spread during situations at a school. We also emphasized the importance of encouraging the HVS community to embrace the principle of do not repost, report. And I did see a little graphic on social media today. Thank you. So we just are going to keep talking about that, as if you see anything that looks suspicious or strange or weird, don't repost it, report it. It's the most important thing you can do, and just keeping that email, communications@hvs.org, in your back pocket. They are on the ready to be aware about stuff like that, as is okay to say. And all the okay to say information's on our website. Safety and security. Communications let the committee know that Run, Hide, Fight training is underway district-wide. Also let the committee know that the critical incident mapping is complete. And the HVS Safety Committee meeting has been scheduled for Wednesday, November 6th at 6 p.m. in the Milford High School Media Center. Legislative Committee, the committee discussed safety funding on a state level. And we adjourned at 3:54 p.m. The next meeting will be Tuesday, November 19th at 2:30 p.m. at the Administration Building.
Thank you very much, Vice President Dodd. Next, public comments on action items. Do we have any? Do we have any public comments on action items or non-action items? Seeing none, let's go to the consent agenda. We have exhibits A1, A2, and A3. Do I have a recommendation to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a recommendation to approve the consent agendas items A1 through A3 as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll support that.
All right. Motion made by member Grzymkowski, seconded by member Cod. Could I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Grzymkowski.
Yes.
Ms. Cotter.
Yes.
I am a yes. Ms. Dodd.
Yes.
Mr. Dimick.
Yes.
And Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next, unfinished business, Oakland County School Board Association proposed bylaw changes. This was presented to you at the last board meeting. This resolution is changes to the Oakland Schools Board of Education, or Board Association bylaws, and it's required a vote by our member districts throughout Oakland County. A conflict within the Oakland County School Board Association bylaws will occur on January 1st, 2025, because a newly elected ISD, Intermediate School District Board Trustee, who also serves, I believe, on the West Bloomfield Board, will no longer hold that local education association's position when her term ends on December 31, 2024. That will leave the ISD board overrepresented on our association because they'll have two members. That's in violation. To resolve this, the board recommends adding language to the bylaws that will temporarily allow two ISD trustees to serve until the term ends on June 2026. If the exception isn't approved, the board will lose a director starting January 1. The Board of Education of each member of district has one vote, and that's our vote. I've given you the information as it relates to the recommendation, the rationale behind it, and what would occur if it was not approved, and I recommend approval of this. So I will make that recommendation and that motion to approve the bylaw change. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions regarding this? Seeing none, could I have a roll call? Oh, I'm sorry, Jacob, yes.
What would be the outcome if we have one director fall off of the ISD?
They would just have one less member representing us. Yes, okay, yes. Any other questions? Thank you for the question. Seeing none, could I have a roll call?
Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Ms. Dodd.
Yes.
Ms. Cotter.
Yes.
I am a yes. Mr. Dimick.
Yes.
Ms. Grzymkowski.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next on the agenda is the food and nutrition service equipment replacement purchase. I'll turn it over to Dr. Salah.
Thank you, Mr. President. I haven't had any questions on this. Mr. Van Gultham, have you had any questions?
No, I have not.
Then we would be asking for board approval as presented this evening.
All right, and this was, once again, presented at the last board meeting. We've had our typical 2 weeks. It's been presented and discussed again at Finance and Operations. Could I have a motion to approve?
I'll move that the Board of Education approve the food and nutrition services equipment replacement purchase as presented.
Do I have a second? Motion made by member Grzymkowski, seconded by member Cotter. Any questions? Seeing none, could I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Grzymkowski.
Yes.
Ms. Cotter,
Yes.
Ms. Dodd,
Yes.
Mr. Dimick.
Yes.
I am a yes. Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next, food nutrition service digital menu display purchase, Dr. Salah.
Yes, I think we had a question this afternoon, Mr. Van Gotham. Why don't I turn this one over to you to walk through this purchase in general?
Yeah, so this relates to the digital menu display purchase. Wanted to add a couple points for the board members as well as the community to understand regarding this purchase. Essentially, we have menus that are available for not only parents but students on our website through the NutriSlice program, and what that provides is basically the meal that's allotted for that day. What it does not provide is all of the a la carte options that the students may purchase. So if you're thinking about an a la carte, an example might be like a side salad or a dessert item, or we might have like, if you had regular nachos, maybe spicy nachos is the a la carte, or maybe we have pizza, but then the a la carte item might be like a cheeseburger or something. So as an example there, this digital menu will allow us to display all of the items that are available for food in a given day. Second challenge that we run into in the high schools is really just the time that the students are able to eat. And so what our food service staff finds is that within about 50% of the cases, the students get all the way to the front where they have to pay or order, and they're still not sure what they want to eat. So not having that displayed is actually causing less time for students to eat, which is always a challenge too, because again, our primary focus is to get them into classes and learning throughout the day. So lunch has never been one of those things where how long can we make it? It's, how quick can we get students in and out? So not that the menu display board is going to cure all those ills, but I think it will improve the time because, again, the students will see all of the options, not only the meal for the day, but the a la carte pieces. And when they get up to the line, hopefully they have a pretty good idea of what they want to order. So we think this will improve efficiency, which will give kids more time to actually eat the meal that they're supposed to be eating, which will improve their ability to pay attention for the second half of the day. So for those reasons alone, coupled with the fact that this will be easier for them to understand what's going on in the cafeteria. If they walk by it, the displays will be there even before lunch is served, so they can get an idea of what they want for lunch. I just see some efficiencies here that are worth the price of the product. And again, as a part of the food spend down, it's important to note that, while you can use it for recurring purchases, the district is trying to do a healthy balance of not only recurring purchases, but one-time purchases, because one-time purchases enhance our ability to provide a better food service experience. Recurring costs are challenging for us because those will happen any given year. And so if we invest too much in recurring costs, that could have a negative effect in future years when our food service spend down runs out and we're still spending money on things that are essentially recurring. So that's probably a big explanation, Dr. Salah, on some of the questions I received this afternoon. But at the end of the day, I think this is a very worthwhile purchase for the food service department. I think it'll enhance the experience for the students, and it'll help us with some time efficiency challenges that we run up to as a result of our food service time.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Thank you. Any other questions? A couple. You mentioned it, but I think it's important to note these funds for the purchase of these two unfinished business items are coming directly out of food service. It has no effect on general fund. Is that?
Yeah, so as a result of even Ms. Grisomkowski's treasurer's report, we have been blessed that we have served a lot of meals for our students, and we have been charging a nominal rate for those meals. And when you look at that coupled with the costs that we have to provide the meals, we're blessed that we've, over the last several years, have built up a fund balance within food service. And so we're required to spend $360,000 in the upcoming year. And so, again, as you mentioned before, it has to be spent on food service type items. So wages are a big piece, and we did address that about 18 months ago with our staff to make them, market rate, if you will. So we were having challenges with even our food service staff competing with like a McDonald's or a Wendy's. And we want to make sure that these kids are taken care of. So wages was addressed, and it is a recurring cost. But we also want to address some of these one-time purchases that quite honestly would come out of our bond program if we did not have this one-time money available. So again, as a district, I think, blessed is the word that I'm using here. We're blessed that we did a really good job with our food service. We were able to provide meals for students for free that were reimbursed through the federal and state programs we have available to us, and therefore are allowed to make some of these one-time purchases. So this has no impact whatsoever on our general fund or as it relates to paying salaries for our teachers or any of our other staff. This is purely money that needs to be spent within food service for the things that our food service staff and really our food service administration is asking for. So,
And I think it really goes hand in glove with what Amy, you talked about, is how well our business office has managed their finances. This is another fund outside the general fund, just like our bond issue, that's managed through your office, Mr. Van Gothen, and your staff has done a marvelous job. I think it's important to also note that our food service is operated as a Huron Valley program. We are, quite frankly, one of the few school districts around that has not privatized our food service, and we have control over it. We have a fund balance. They pay their bills, and they're able to make improvements that affect the lives of our children. So thank you very much. Is there any other questions? Seeing none, I believe we had a motion, correct? No? All right, could I have a motion, please?
I'm sorry, I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Member
Purchase,
Pastana.
yep.
Do I have a second? A second by Member Cotter. See no other questions. Could I have a roll call, please?
I'm a yes. Ms. Cotter? Yes. Ms. Dodd?
Yes.
Ms. Grzymkowski?
Yes.
Mr. Dimick?
No.
Mr. Wiseman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next, Muir Middle School temperature control purchase. Dr. Slav?
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, this is one where we have not had any questions from the board. Recently went to Finance and Operations again. We didn't have any additional questions there. Mr. Van Gothen, did you get any questions?
I did not, Dr. Slaw.
So this evening we'd be asking for approval as presented.
And these are the minimal enhancements to our heating and cooling at Muir, recognizing that we're down the horizon, we're going to be building a new middle school.
Correct, but essential to making sure that the students and staff that are in the building from now until we make that move are comfortable from a temperature perspective.
Okay. Any other questions before we have a motion? Seeing none, could I have a motion, please?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the Muir Middle School Temperature Control Purchase Exhibit E.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Member Dodd, seconded by Member Grzymkowski. Seeing no other questions or comments, could I have a roll call?
Ms. Dodd?
Yes.
Ms. Grzymkowski?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Mr. Dimick?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. Wiseman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next, Technology Consultant Designer Services for the 2024 bond program. Dr. Salah.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. We did have one question by Member Dimick regarding the evaluation process and criteria. Mr. Van Gothen included a explanation in board notes on Friday, which provided an overview of what was discussed during Finance and Operations. We have not had any additional questions. Mr. Van Gothen, have you had any additional questions?
No, I have not.
So that said, we are asking for board approval as presented.
Thank you. Before I take a motion, I think it would be beneficial for our board and our community to understand what the process is that we went through. So maybe you could very briefly go through the evaluation steps that led to this recommendation.
Yes, so as it relates to all of the RFPs that we prepare, we have an evaluation matrix which requires a score for each project that we're considering. So in this case, we had 3 different firms come through to us for technology consultant designer services. So we did an evaluation matrix. We came up with a score, and then from there, we took a look at, you know, who scored well, and then you know, who best aligned based on strategy. Things like, you know, price are part of that matrix score. Obviously, we're very, you know, fiscally responsible as it relates to the dollars we're trying to spend within the district, but also personnel qualifications. Do they have people who have the personnel to do the proper work? The project capability and time to meet demands. So what type of work have they done before? Do we have any history to see that they've met demands? References. So I did check references on not only the company we're recommending, but other firms as well. I mean, there's a lot of good people that do work within this space, but we're very blessed with the proposal we received, and you know, again, as a result of the matrix score, in this case with Barton Mallow, with the past history in the district, and really the ability to help us locally, and really whenever we need their help with service. Technology for us is a 24/7 part of our operation as a district, and whereas some vendors aren't available or responsive within a 24/7 period, we've been blessed that Barton Mallow is a 24/7. It could be 11 o'clock on a Sunday, it could be 5:30 in the morning on a Friday, and Barton Mallow will be there for our technology team, for the co-team, to make sure that we get our things taken care of, because technology's just become an important facet to what we do within the district. So it was easy based on, you know, the matrix score, the evaluation criteria that we really tell them we're providing them, and then following up with references and even looking through the proposals that they provided, that you know, Barton Mallow came out as the clear-cut winner as far as the opportunity to provide service for us.
So, so based on your evaluation, which was very thorough, you sent out an RFP, even though you were pleased with Barton Mallow and they were our technology consultant for the 2019 bond issue. We followed a due diligence as it related to seeing what else was out there, and based on that criteria, you recommend Barton Mallow to continue that relationship that we have.
Yeah, so we went through the RFP processes that we normally would for any of our projects. We kept it out there for a month. We took, you know, public bids. We had a specific time that those bids had to be in. We had bid meetings where we kind of highlighted some of the things, expectations as a district. And again, even after that process and going through and making sure that, you know, the scores were evaluated properly, getting second and even third and fourth eyes on it as it relates to the key members within your administration team. After all of that, basically, you know, what we originally thought that Barton Mallow was a good provider was, you know, reaffirmed through our bid process.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of Jeffrey or Dr. Slough? Any other comments? Could I have a recommendation then, please?
I'll make the motion that we accept the technology consultant designer Barton Mallow for the 2024 bond program.
Motion made by member Grzynkowski. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by member Dodd. Could I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Grzynkowski,
Yes.
Ms. Dodd,
Yes.
Ms. Cotter.
Yes.
I am a yes. Mr. Dimick,
Yes.
Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next, under new business, we have board policy update 1540. Dr. Slough.
Thank you, Mr. Wiseman. This policy was actually brought before the board back in October of 2020, or October 27th, 2023. It went to the exec committee, I should say. It didn't come to the entire board. So we are bringing this for 2 readings. The specific policy relates to administrative staff reductions and recalls. This is board policy 1540. It's as a result of changes to the revised school code, section 1249, which deals with evaluation, layoff, and recall. And so we are recommending the board adopt this policy to be compliant with section 1249 of the school code. Again, we are not asking for board action this evening. The policy is in your board. The policy it was in your board packet. It's rather short. It's only a paragraph long. If you wouldn't mind taking a look at it and letting us know if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those questions, and we will bring it to the next board meeting.
That second,
Yes, Jacob?
the second document you mentioned that it referenced or hinged off of, what was that again? I didn't get it down.
It's section 1249 of the revised school code. It's the section of the school code that deals with evaluation, educator evaluation. It has both teachers as well as administrators, and it also deals with recall layoff process.
Any other questions at this time? This will be presented at the November 18th board meeting with a recommendation, so we have some time between now and then to ask any questions that you might have that then could be shared with the rest of the board. Next, we have additional school safety recommendation purchase. Dr. Salau.
Thank you. I'd ask Mr. Van Gotham to speak to this.
So we had a pretty thorough discussion in Finance and Operations Committee. Again, always looking at and reflecting on things that happen throughout the country and even locally. Unfortunately, more tragedy throughout the country with, school shootings. So always assessing our own safety protocols. Barb and her team do a really good job of making sure that we're staying up to speed on all the things that we need to have in place as a result of safety and security. One of the things that we do not have but could enhance, we took a look at as a committee and felt that, for the dollars we would spend on it, it would really enhance the safety protocols within the district. So I'm going to leave it at that. We actually had a lot of dialogue within board notes and was more descriptive for the board to know. But in general, when we're talking about something like safety and security, I think the less that the general public knows about what we're trying to do to keep the kids safe and secure is the right way to go here. But I'm confident in this measure or protocol that we're going to be taking with respect to safety and security. And again, the board has the ability. We are not asking for approval tonight. We're asking the board to consider this expenditure. I, as well as Ms. Rothler and Dr. Slaw, can be available should there be any questions regarding this, but I'm in full support of taking additional actions and measures to make sure that our kiddos are safe when they're in our school buildings, and I'll leave it at that.
One final note, this is not a general fund expense. This would be funded through 31AA, which is a state categorical for school safety.
Do we have any questions? Yes, Amy.
So last we spoke, our budget did not have safety and security in it. What has happened in the interim that has increased the budget for this year? And then secondly, this particular request was a result of a parent. Am I correct? A parent made this suggestion?
Yes, I received an email from a parent, and I thought her feedback was very appropriate, and it was not something that we had thought about. But based upon, unfortunately, as Jeffrey mentioned, when you reflect on the latest school shooting, which was Georgia, there are always lessons to be learned. And so this thought or recommendation came from a parent as a result of the action that was taken in Georgia. And so I asked Ms. Rothler to investigate. She contacted a couple of entities to provide us some quotes regarding what something like this might cost. Brought that forward to our cabinet team. We reviewed it, and ultimately it went to Mr. Van Gotham from a financial perspective to take a look at, and that's why it ultimately ended up making its way to finance and operations, and we are bringing it here for board consideration.
And
the second half of that, Amy, to answer your question with respect to, we did not have safety and security dollars. Where did those basically magically appear from? And the magic happened at the state level when the board approved a follow-up to the original budget that was approved over the summer. And so what was allocated was an additional, I want to say $125 million in safety and security. That's not directly to Huron Valley Schools. I know everybody was thinking that, but that's not the case. That's the total state of Michigan. We're going to receive, though, approximately at least half of what we've been allocated in previous years, which works out to be about $800,000 or $900,000, which is a huge bump for us, which is very helpful in what we're trying to do. And so we're earmarking some of those dollars for this.
And then second, just a follow-up to that, we utilized Recon Management. Have we run this by Recon Management, and they assumed that it was a good fit?
Yes, actually, Recon Management and Michigan State Police are now making this recommendation.
Any other comments or questions? One of the things that we do as a school district, and we've done this for the last several years now, is at every subcommittee, we have safety and security on our agenda. It doesn't matter whether it's marketing, whether it's TLT, whether it's finance and operations or exec. We're always focused on safety and security. And unfortunately, like you said, Dr. Sla, we're always taking a look at what we can do to make our schools even that much more safe. And unfortunately, there has been occurrences that have happened, and unfortunately, we learn from those tragedies. And I think this is one of those cases that we're going to take a look at it. I think it really demonstrates our partnership that we have with our parents, and the ability for all of us to learn and to take that information and act on it in a very responsible fashion. The fact that, Barb, you've already investigated that with Recon, great question, Amy, and Michigan State Police. And I just, unfortunately, it's just something that we have to face as a board, and we do this on a consistent, constant, strategic fashion. So, and it's one of those things I know that Dr. Salah and all of us, we always talk about keeping our kids safe and secure. And once again, I just want to say thank you to our community, because I don't know where we would be if we didn't have the dollars that are available to be able to do what we need to do to keep our students as safe and secure as we possibly can on a physical standpoint, on a facility standpoint. So thank you. Next on the agenda is public comments. Any public comments? Yes, but I would like you to fill out a form afterwards at least, okay? If you would do that, please, go ahead. I know you just arrived, so you have 3 minutes, and it's really not a case where we can get into a conversation, but we're here to listen, okay?
I know a couple weeks ago, you guys brought forth the Title IX adoption. And I know you guys can say legally you had to do it. But for me, I would just to think about the women's rights and what kind of future are they going to have? I mean, my daughter went to this school district. She's now graduated about 6 years ago. But she's now had twin girls this week, or I'm sorry, 3 weeks ago. What kind of life are they going to have? I mean, Title IX was originally there to protect the women. And now it's been construed to where it's actually detrimental. It's hurting women. I don't understand the logic. I know you guys say you're putting a bind and you have to, the federal government's, it's going to get, I don't know why you didn't wait for the decision the Supreme Court would hand down. I mean, seriously, you could have sat there and waited. I know you have a lawyer or legal system saying, oh yeah, you got to do it. But I'm telling you that I bet you if you got a different lawyer, they probably would have given you a different, opinion. Depends on who you talk to. In the end, I just want to say that this thing is so backwards. I mean, because women are just not going to be protected like they should be. And it breaks my heart. It does. I can't understand why this country has decided, to just destroy. I don't understand where the women's rights groups are, why they're not protesting. And I don't know. It's just upsetting to me because it took a long time for the women to get sports. I think it started, in the 70s, maybe? Forever.
72.
And if you think about it, you have transgender girls on girl sports. Do you ever think about, is there ever a transgender boy on a boy sport? I mean, to me, I don't know if there is one here in the district, but you never hear about that. Why? Because, a girl or transgender boy could never compete with boys because they just wouldn't physically be able to. So wouldn't you think the opposite? You have a transgender girl who's, got muscle mass like me, but that's true. I'm thinking of blockers and all that, but that's not the same. Girls are going to get hurt. There's going to be girls losing scholarships. People are not going to get on the team because they're getting displaced. I don't know what the answer is. It can be a complex issue, but what they're doing right now, what you guys are doing right now, is not the answer. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Good and welfare. Anyone have any comments on their good and welfare?
Tom, I do.
Yes.
Um,
Doc.
Actually, I didn't catch his name, but I appreciated his comments regarding Title IX. And I wanted to take a moment tonight to talk about the Title IX and why I supported it. Basically, I wanted to support the federal government so we could maintain and keep our funding. But that's beside the fact. There's actually two reasons why I did support it. One being, as he mentioned, that I took an oath and I have to uphold the laws of this United States and also here in the state of Michigan. But the real reason, or secondly, the real reason I supported it is that these laws of Title IX are already on the books here in Michigan, and they were passed almost 2 years ago. And if you would look up the Elliott Larson Act, you would see that it's been in place already. And all we did was generically kind of tell our policy that we proposed would only be align us with the federal government, keep us out of trouble, keep us funded. But the truth of the matter is, here in the state of Michigan, we've had these laws for now almost 2 years. It was passed in March of 2023. So I just wanted to speak because I took a few hits on my vote. But that being said, I wanted people to understand where I was coming from. So thank you. And thank you again for your comments tonight.
Thank you. Any other comments under good and welfare? Amy?
Thank you, Lindsay Cotter. I was sitting here looking at our camera crew, thinking about Miss Cadell, looking at the draped skirts along these tables, and I thought, we sometimes forget about the people behind the scenes. I just want to say thank you to all of you that are here that work behind the scenes, that bring the Board of Education meetings to the web, so that people who cannot attend can watch and know what's going on. And sometimes those get placed on social media. These are very long meetings, I know, and I know that once our meeting is done, we will go home and you will still continue to work. And you will put things away and you'll make everything look like it looked before we came in here. So I just want to say thank you for the work that you do. I appreciate you back there and over there for reminding us about where we're meeting, because sometimes we forget. I just really appreciate the hard work that's done. So thank you very much.
Any other good and welfare? This is a busy week. Our students at all 4 of our high schools do a marvelous job, but I do know that we're coming to the end from an athletic standpoint as it relates to a lot of things, and a big community event is a football game, Milford Lakeland this Friday. So it's much more than that. It's really an opportunity for our community to get together and celebrate the accomplishments of our schools, and our schools are much more than just academics and athletics. They really care about each other. You saw that today with White Lake Middle School and their web program. And what they do not only take care of themselves, but they take care of our community. So I just want to acknowledge